Okay, so I think we can start, Jason, right?
Yeah, we are good to go.
Okay, so let me share my screen. What's wrong? Can you see my screen?
Just a minute before we could see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yes, wonderful morning, afternoon, early morning as it is with Marcia. Thank you for joining in, accepting this invite, and being here with us at this hour of time, Marcia. So thank you, audience. It is great pleasure to be with you all on this amazing platform with our amazing speaker on 52nd webinar. And apologies, I think I have missed. Give me a minute because I think I'm sharing a wrong PPT.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me just few seconds, yeah. Okay, so I would like to thank you all because you have been here with us on Saturday morning, being a weekend, whichever part of the world, and at this hour of time. So I'm welcoming you all, thanking you all for being here with us, with our speaker to have amazing session. Thank you for your registrations, and I would like to also convey that if you want to share the link with others who can take benefit, then please go ahead. They can also join and take benefit of this session. What are we here for? The topic is how to successfully pivot in your career. With our amazing speaker, I'll introduce her in a while. Please stay with us. What is NLG all about and who did it start with? So NLG, I call it as the Networking and Learning Group is the full form. And the co-founders are Jason Abraham and myself, Sushma Priju Bablani. Jason is an amazing speaker. He's a storyteller. You might have been seeing him on his videos, his stories. He has amazing channel where he interviews different people to know their success journey. He's a value content creator. He's networking expert. He specializes in Canva, and he has already done a session with us on the same. He's an avid listener and on a mission to connect with 100,000 souls by this end of this year. And I wish him all the best, and we'll definitely make it, Jason. Thank you for sharing your purpose and dream with us. I'm an HR professional and an NLP master practitioner. I love to be with people, around people. I'm passionate about human touch, create impact and positive difference by unleashing our potentials, which we have already within ourselves. We have a team that work with us. What you see on the screen, there is a work going on behind the screen, and these two amazing souls are helping with us for the same. One is Takyuddin Teparambil. He's QHSE professional, entrepreneur, enthusiast. He has started something of his own. He's MBA in HR and MSc in biotechnology. We have another gentleman called Anil Kunuku. He is an HR professional, NLP master practitioner, a coach, a mentor. He's Toastmasters as well. He energizes us with his AK thoughts every morning. You must be seeing them in the group. Every day he shares his thoughts with us. He's a career guide. He's an association with Singapore-based university to mentor the students. What is NLG all about? So Networking and Learning Group is, the aim is to just network, learn, and share knowledge and experiences with each other. And if you would like to do so, please let us know, get in touch with us, and you will be the speaker with us on this platform soon. We have two pillars again. We divided our group in two forms, which is NLG League and NLG Careers. NLG League is all about sharing the experiences, the learnings, the networking, the queries, if you have any on anything, then you can definitely join that group. NLG Career is more about the opportunities, the resume designing, the interview questions, anything related to jobs. There are so many job opportunities posted in the group. So if you would like to join there, please, we'll be sharing the links shortly in the chat box, and you can share with others as well who are looking for jobs. That's about networking and learning group. You can connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and Telegram as well. All these sessions which we do go live and are recorded as well. You can watch them later or share if somebody else would like to take benefit from them. Now, certain rules to follow during the session are: please mute your mic so that speaker and audience is not disturbed while presentation. You can use the chat box, the comments, the reaction buttons to share your thoughts or ask questions. You may raise your hand otherwise. At the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A, so please get ready with your questions. Speaker will be happy to answer you all. And you may take the notes or screenshots as you like during the session. So these are some of the sessions that we had done before. Today's 52nd session. So we have already completed our 51 sessions with different speakers from across the world who have shared their knowledge with us already. There has been an interview conference beginning of this year. You can see on the screen as well, where we had 4 amazing speakers. And now today's speaker is Marcia Williams. She's joining us from New York. Thank you, Marcia, for being here at 3 a.m. in the morning. Marcia is supply chain and procurement consultant. She's Lean Six Sigma expert. She's digital transformation expert. She's an author as well as a speaker. She's also host of a podcast. Her expertise is cost reduction, process optimization, and supply chain transformation. She's an ERP functional expertise for small and medium-sized manufacturing businesses. She's also associated with Upgrade University in India to train supply chain students, MBA students on supply chain. Thank you very much, Marcia, for accepting our invitation and being here. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Susma, and all the audience. To me, it's a pleasure to be here today with all of you, and I'm very impressed by all the work that you have been doing, and also about the participants. So for me, it's great. I'm so glad to be here. Even if it is early in the morning, it's fantastic to start like this. Okay, so as Susma and Jason were mentioning, we have a presentation, so I will cover some slides. There are few slides, so don't worry. And then we can have the questions, and the more the better. So, great. I'm going to share my screen. First, I'm going to make sure that I have the PPT right, okay, and it is like that. And now I'm going to share. Okay. Great. I think you can see my screen, right? Perfect. I see that, yes. Excellent. Let's make this bigger. I'm getting older, so now I need to make it bigger. Okay. I want to move this. Perfect. All right. So the topic is how to successfully pivot in your career. And the introduction, actually, Susma did a great job, much better than what I have on the slide, because I think it was very nice of Susma about myself. So I am a procurement and supply chain consultant. I have been in this area for 18 years now. And my expertise is in ERP for small and medium-sized manufacturing businesses. So in the first stages of using technology, the early stages of that transformation journey. I am also an author of Transforming Supply Chain with Maria, and a podcast host of Adventures in Supply Chain. And I really enjoy the podcast because it gives me the opportunity to talk to other incredible professionals like you. And we learn, we share what we see, what works, what doesn't. So it's a fantastic opportunity. Actually, some of the guests were, for instance, the vice president of supply chain at Stanley Black & Decker, Dana Drake-Cox, then also other professors, Deborah Dull in sustainability, so it has been great. And I also have the pleasure of being a speaker in sessions about the impact of COVID in supply chain, in strategic planning in supply chain for the MBA students at UpGrad, that is a university in India. Okay. Here, there's a picture of my kids because they have trouble to understand what I do. Each time someone asks, what is your mom doing? Well, they see me like recording videos when I do the podcast or writing or doing supply chain, talking on the phone, well, now more on Zoom. So sometimes they just don't understand what I'm doing. And actually, my boy wants to be a YouTuber from what he has seen from me. So I do.
Sorry to interrupt you. Are you because we are seeing only your first screen. After that, because you said you are sharing the picture of your kids, right? We don't see
Yes.
If you
Just
can.
1 minute. I'm going to stop share and share everything.
Okay.
I do that. Thank you for letting me know, because, okay, let's do desktop. That is the safest option.
Yes.
Okay, now thank you, Susma. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Great. So that's what I was saying, that they just don't know what I do. I do something, but it's not clear. The point about this is that we will see that if we focus on one area or in your career, we can have different ways to work in that. Okay. So this is my journey. I haven't started in supply chain from the beginning. I'm coming from accounting, and originally I am from Uruguay, that is a tiny country in South America. It's so small that it has 3 million people, more or less, and borders Argentina and Brazil. So that is my background from where I started. I came to Michigan State, to Spartans, to do my MBA with focus on supply chain and finance. I always wanted to do that, not supply chain, but I find out when I was working in accounting that I realized that I was measuring like the value created with different reports, and I was making journal entries. And then I wanted to take more action. And that's when I started to looking into what other opportunities I can see. That took me to decided to do an MBA to have like a broader view, and also I like about supply chain. That is the first time that I heard that at that moment, it was in 2002 when I started searching. I started my MBA in 2003. So that was the moment that I started looking for other options, and supply chain was an area that I really like it from what I was reading and talking to different students. So that's how I started. And then I had the opportunity to work for large companies like Alcoa and Cummins, and I did that in supply chain. But there I had different also opportunities. So initially I started like doing procurement, and then from procurement I went more like about planning with materials, then to projects that were implementing technology. So many areas, many different projects within supply chain and also to other functions. And then after that, I own my business in New York that the only focus is supply chain transformations. When I say the only focus is that, yes, our expertise is in supply chain, but we need to consider other areas. So as you can see, I cannot say I have been like 25 years doing a specific activity. And even within supply chain is so broad because it covers purchasing, operations, and then logistics and warehousing. So it's everything, like like a participant that was saying earlier in the discussion, end-to-end supply chain. Okay. Let's see. So some challenges that I have had in my career, and I think it's so important to mention this. Sometimes we only want to talk about the success that we had, but the challenges is where we learn the most. So when something challenges and also failures. So I'm going to mention some of the challenges that I experienced. When I came to the US, it was a completely different country. And at that moment, I came by myself. Many people ask me, why are you doing that? Because I had a job, my parents had a company in Uruguay that it was an accounting firm. And also, well, my sister is an accountant, my dad is an accountant, and they didn't understand why I decided to go somewhere else to do something different, being away from here, like from my family. And so that was the first point. It was like, I made a decision. I wanted to explore more and see other opportunities. But at the beginning, I can tell you that it was very hard, very hard. I remember that there were moments that I wanted to come back home. I stay because something important. I always say to myself that the challenges then can become opportunities. So I stay, but I can tell you that there were moments, as I mentioned, that I just didn't want to continue because I felt very lonely there with no family, no. Then yes, of course, I started to be more open to others. So I started talking to other people, but initially it was hard. One of my point is that I knew English grammar. I always liked grammar, and that's why I publish a book and I write content about supply chain as well. So I love grammar, but I was so awful, horrible when I talk that nobody understood me. Nobody. I had an issue with a laptop. I remember that I needed to ask to return the laptop and give me one that had Wi-Fi connection. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle. So those two challenges, like being away from family and different countries and different language. So I also was new to supply chain. I read before getting to the MBA about what it was, but I didn't have any experience because I was an accountant. And at that moment, I was an international student. So I didn't have a green card or US citizenship. I was on a student visa. So I had those challenges, and there were, to me, they were big. But of course, if you compare, there's always other person that have other challenges and are more difficult. But that was the situation. So from there, what I learned. And the first point, mindset and action play a key role, to me is fundamental, even more than the technical skills, because all of them were at Michigan State. And then we developed the technical skills. All of us talked to the professors, went through the courses, but the key is to have that mindset, like Carol Dweck mentioned, like the growth mindset. And this is something that I also learned. Initially, I didn't know anything about mindset. I didn't know what it was. So I was just doing what I was supposed to do. And then I continue going through the classes and trying to adapt. But once in my mind, I got like, okay, I need to be here and I need to be successful. There will be no other option. I just need to make it. That changed, because initially I was saying, okay, it was like I didn't make a real decision, because after the MBA, I was planning to come back. So I always thought, okay, this is my time. I do the 2 years and then I came back. But by thinking, oh, I need to do this, I by myself, and I need to do it, I don't have a choice, that greatly helped me. And also, not to have fear, but to continue anyway. Because as you can see, everything wasn't working, in particular with the language. And now, if I didn't continue, I wouldn't be like I am today, that they asked me to participate in different panels and give talks, speeches, so it's very different. So I would say that mindset is fundamental, so then we can take action. Then the second point is that hard work pays off, and that I am convinced about that. I know that when I work hard, I may not get what I am expecting, but I get something or better or in a different way. So I'm convinced about that. I think one of the elements is to work hard. And with this example is that we can manage change to your advantage. If we learn and we see something, then we can use it. In this case, when I was at the university and in the first stages, yes, as I mentioned, nobody understood, and there were many changes. But with the right mindset, action, we can use that and to leverage. I'm going to give you two examples. One that is minor, and another one that is more relevant, I would say. But to manage a change, there, when I was driving, I knew the rules because I was there like in the second year. It was by that time I knew the rules, but one time I was stopped by a cop, right? Because the speed limit was very low, and I don't know, I think it was 10 miles or 20, okay, over the speed limit. It's not that I drive very fast. At that moment, I had to go to another appointment, so that one, I exceeded the limit. So when the cop stopped me, I say, well, it's just that I'm not from here. So, and I talk to him like that. So I'm not suggesting like to break the rules, but it's funny also other examples that that people give about that. But then I took that I'm not originally from here, and sometimes I say that, or it's like I say cultural differences. But at this point, I know more about this culture than my own. And another one about this one is relevant. The other one is kind of a joke, of course, but another example that is more relevant is that COVID made a huge impact. Is still making important changes. So how can we use that to our advantage? And in my case, for example, I started doing the podcast. Before I just couldn't. With the commute time, I couldn't. So I used that, and I started building a podcast that I love doing it. So there are many changes that we need to see them as an opportunity, even though at the beginning don't seem like that. And opportunities are everywhere. I think it's just to pay attention to where we are and identify where we can take action. It's not that we have one opportunity, and if we miss it, then we don't have it anymore. And I also think that we need to be ready for that. Because before, if I compare like when I started in my business, I was taking every project that I possibly take. And in many cases, of course, I wasn't ready to do the work well, because I was taking so many and they were so different. But now, for example, I know, after being some time in this, I know where I can help. And I see opportunities that before I didn't. And so it's like you develop how to identify opportunities, but there are many. And challenges, again, are great teachers for resilience and for building character. And I also learned this from business leaders that I had the pleasure to work. There were situations very hard, and that it helped us. At the end, it helped us. When I know that ideally people behave like as expected, or in a way similar to what we think, and it's not the case. In some cases, there are situations all of you that are in HR, you know much more than I do, but there are situations like with micromanagement, but all of that helps to continue, because I think the lessons from there is where we can become stronger. Here I put some of the myths that we typically hear. The number one that I have listed is that you have to stick to a 5-year or 10-year plan. When I got at Michigan State, that was a very common question. And also when I was interviewing for jobs, that was a common question. So they ask you, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I wonder, like, why are they asking this? And it's like, you need to know what you are going to do. And in my case, that I kept making some changes and adapting, I didn't know how to answer that. And I don't think you need to have a clear idea, okay, I want to be like this, to impact. It's great to have objectives, but to me, we need to be aware that we make changes to those objectives, and that is completely fine. And that comes back to my point that you may find opportunities ahead of you that you aren't aware when you started. So that's why I don't think it's really important, and you need to do what you say you will be doing when considering a 5-year or 10-year time frame. So that's the myth number one. The next one that we have is to focus on one single activity. That is another one that I have found very common, that they say, like, you need to do one activity and do it well. It's very common, because I have read many books, and that is what they say. And in my case, I thought, okay, I'm not doing this. I need to find a way to follow this way, because there have been many successful cases. But then I also, other people that they have been doing a little bit of everything to know what they like best. And this is the case, for example, of Marie Forleo. She was doing different activities. So she was like against this. It's not like I am against and I want to do everything, but like she was testing some different activities, and she liked different activities. So I think you can be good at more than one activity, and you can also see what other opportunities entail, because if you don't try, how are you going to know if you really like it? And again, this can change. So when you are considering your career, you also need to consider that you are going to be changing. And that is linked to the next myth that we have, that people don't change. That to me is not true. I know I disagree with many people that they say, no, people don't change. But actually, I think they do. You can change for the better or not. We go on a journey. So if you ask me if I change, because initially I was very proud, and I said, I didn't change. I am the same person from South America. But that is not true. I have changed, and I think it's good that I have changed. I think I have grown, taking different paths, and also the experiences, like challenges, failures. Of course, we enjoy success, but we also have that. And we change, and the idea is that we keep changing. and that's the same with mindset. So then the next myth that we have, number 4, if you study a certain field, you need to get a job in that field. That is also like, we need to stick to something. And if we are going to be an accountant, okay, we need to continue in accounting. You can do that, of course, but you also, I think, need to be open to see if there are other opportunities in other functions as well. And that is, Cummins show that in a very clear way. At the Cummins, there are engineers that they are in business, in human resources, and then they switch. They made them to go to a different function. So they get to know many from manufacturing into procurement. So they do that on purpose. So like every certain number of years, actually less, in some cases it's less than a year, they ask the employees to go to a different area. People from sales into procurement. And that gives you a broader view. So it's not necessarily that, right, that if you study a certain field, you need to get a job in that field. And then the last myth is that success is only for smart people. And I would like to mention one case that she's very successful. That is Sarah Blakely. That she is a billionaire, and I don't know. I think even today she's the youngest billionaire, but I think there's someone else, so I'm not sure about that. But in any case, she had great success. And if you hear about her story, you will see that she didn't have any technical skills. Her only job was to sell fax machines. That's what she was doing. That was her preparation. And when she tells about the story, is that she got a job in Disney. They didn't allow her to do like Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse. So then I believe she was doing something else. And then she started with being an employee and selling fax machines. So that is what she did, sell fax machines. And she wanted more. So she had that mindset, and she clearly mentioned that she had that mindset to do more and find something that she was really passionate about. And well, then the rest, everyone knows about the story, but she sells those panties. So she saw that on herself and say, but why cannot have a better product? And that's how her product started. So she saw that, and then from that moment that she find out about an opportunity, and here we see she was looking for more. So that's why it's important to have that mindset and then take action. She saw an opportunity that before she didn't, and then started to take action, like massive action, calling all the stores, all the shows, the podcast, contacting many people, and then she got an interview, an opportunity to go and sell to a big store, and there she was trying to convince the buyer, and the buyer was almost at the point to say no to her. And she showed how it looks, the pants on her, the panties on her, and they say, okay, yes, in that case, I want you to provide your product to 7 stores. And she always says, okay, this can be for many entrepreneurs. Okay, this is a dream come true, right? That you have an opportunity for no selling at all. You are going to have your product in a very well-known retail store and 7 stores. She didn't stop there. She called every possible person to ask them to buy that. Then she went there personally and tried to sell the panties, the product. Spanx is the product. And so she constantly was taking action to sell her product. And my point here is that she is smart, okay, but she didn't have any additional talents. Like you say, okay, this person is so smart. What she had is that she found out an opportunity and we need to be prepared to see that opportunity, and then she took action. But what she did is to call, travel to the location, activities that all of us can do. So to me, success is not only for smart people. It's more what you have, like the determination and your passion and the action mindset that you have. And in that way, you are getting prepared for success. So that's why I like her story. I included that on my book because she's very good talking about failure. She also mentioned that her dad at the dinner table asked her, what did you fail today? And he was happy if she answered, yes, I failed on this. So I think it's a great example. Okay, so the hot tips for your success, I would say to stay driven, keep studying and doing research to adapt. That's a way that ideas come to mind. Then, of course, we need to take action. And if you see, based on my experience, I did that. I was searching for options. So, but it's important to do research and be open-minded. Be bold and get out of your comfort zone. This gives you flexibility. I remember the first ERP transformation that I had to do. I wasn't clear how I was going to do it. I wanted to do it so badly that I prepared, but I didn't have experience leading an ERP implementation, but I wanted to do it. So that was different from me, and is also, as an example, I'm giving you this. Be persistent and consistent, as we have been talking, and learn from others that you admire. Like, this group is so great, right? We can learn from each other, mentors, business leaders. And of course, to network is fundamental. That is how we know what else is we can find, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So that is critical. And then briefly, I'm going over COVID-19 impact. There were many deaths and just bad news about this. It's a very sad situation, but it had a positive impact on supply chain. Before, nobody talked about supply chain, and now supply chain is like the hot topic. So there are new opportunities, new ways, and we need to identify, prepare, and act fast. There are great demand for certain skills. For example, be able to lead teams and meetings virtually and globally. This doesn't apply to supply chain only, to many professions. And there are great opportunities to learn such skills and others online. We have now more resources than ever. And for me to be here is a great pleasure, before COVID, maybe we didn't even consider that. And it redefined the way we work. And I put explain situation in the US because when before COVID hit, there was a trend to increase remote work, but it was increasing, right? Remote work. But with COVID, then everyone needed to work from home. Now we are coming back to the office again, but we don't want the situation like it was before. Now it's different. We want also to work from home some days. So all of these changes we need to see as opportunities. And as I mentioned before, you can work remotely and you can have a higher reach. So I know I talk a lot, so I'm going to stop share, and I'm open to any questions.
Okay, thank you, Marcia. That was a wonderful journey you took us through. The stories you shared with us, the examples you told us, gave us more insight with what you were trying to let everyone else in the room understand. So that's really amazing way of putting it all together. And thank you for your efforts. So I love the fact which you have mentioned, some of the myths which we all have, like sticking to our 5-year and 10-year plans, and successes for smart people, and focus on one single activities. It's amazing myths. That is really true what people usually think and go through. And I loved your hot tips as well, how to stay focused and stay driven, network and do your research, be consistent. And lastly was your COVID-19 impact, which you have summarized so beautifully and quickly in 5-6 points. That's really good to know. Thank you for being and doing that. Now, what I would like to ask is a question where I want you to tell us something which made you to move from accounting to supply chain,
Yes.
And how was that journey, moving from one area to another?
Yes, no, that's a great question. I was getting bored with what I was doing. I didn't feel like I didn't see myself doing like the reporting that I was doing at every time. I see that I didn't take action. And so I wanted like to take a more active role. And that's why I started looking for something else. Because in accounting is great because you can see if the company is improving or not. But then I just wanted to take action. And that's what I say, I need to do something else.
Great, great. Thank you. So I was just relating it to me. I have done my studies in accounting.
Ah,
But
you
now I'm in HR. Yes.
perfect.
So I can definitely relate.
Okay, great, great.
Good to know. Okay. So thank you very much, Marcia, for answering that question. And the floor is open for everyone to ask questions. I know Gunjan has raised the hand, but just before that, Jason, over to you.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the wonderful hot tips for success, the highlight of the session. I've taken the screenshot. Thank you so much. Thank you for accepting our invite. It's early morning, 3 a.m. already in US. Thank you for speaking so early and before your breakfast, in fact. Thank you so much. Thank you for inspiring us and motivating us. No questions from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, Gunjanji, please go ahead with your question. You may unmute and ask.
I already shared my question in the chat box also. So
Yes.
I wanted to ask about if she can pour a light on how to come out of a comfort zone.
How I do that? Yes, to me, the key point is like you really need to want something. And that is what, when I have like a challenge, and of course, I can stay what I am doing, but if you see something that you really want, that is what drives me to get that. And I put some examples. Of course, there are moments that still today, in some cases, I want to give up. But one of my rules, and that is to me, I don't quit. Okay, maybe others ask me to quit, that's fine, but I'm going to stay. I always have that rule. And so when I want something so badly, that is what makes me to go out and do activities that I am not doing. One case that I can tell you was the first ERP implementation. It was with a system, right? And I was involved in a team before, but it's completely different than to lead the implementation. I mentioned that, but I say, I'm going to get this. So they gave me the chance to do it. And then I kept working on that really hard because I wanted to have it ready. I think it's like I imagine how everything is going to be at the end. And that drives me to continue, because I can tell you there are moments, like for example at university, I think that was the hardest part for me, when nobody understood what I was saying. And I spent like 5 months or 4 months with that issue, everything in writing, but I couldn't do anything. I didn't have fun. I just, to give you an idea, to me, when they say, okay, let's get together, I hate that. I didn't go initially. The get together to me, I just was so afraid, and then I was checking the classes. The one they say, we value your participation. I say, okay, I'm just not. Those points are lost for me. I will never get 1 point. But what made me to continue is that it's like I had something in my mind that I wanted to make it. So I needed to go through that, and I will work hard. That is another important point for me. I know that I will get results. So that is what made me to continue and taking something that are completely different, many activities, and I pursue them. Did I answer your question?
Thank you, Marcia.
Great.
Yes. Thank you for asking that question and answering that, Marcia. Anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. You may raise your hand or type it in the chat box as you may like. Marcia is still here for a few minutes so that she can answer the queries. Yes, Silja, please go ahead.
Hi, Marcia. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable inputs. That was very great. Actually, while you were talking about changing the career and all, this thought came to my mind, like, you know, when you search for a job, what I've noticed is, like, even you have an experience in certain field, okay, and you apply for some higher level, what happens is the calls that you get, the response you get is very minimal, you know. So even in your career line, it's very hard, which I found, that to get into a next level. And it's great that you have changed your career altogether and was a great success. Can you tell me the secret? How do you achieve that?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Silja, and your comments. I tell you from where I started, because as I was in accounting, didn't have any experience in supply chain.
Okay.
So that's the beginning. Didn't have any experience, and another negative point is that many companies, they were hiring only green card holders or US citizens. And at that moment, I wasn't a US citizen. I was just a student. So to me, that was one of the key challenges because I wanted to work. I wanted to work and experience that.
Right, yeah.
So what I did is that when they interviewed me, they saw that I didn't have experience in supply chain. I didn't have experience working for a company in the US.
Okay.
So like many points that were weak in my case. So what I did is to think how what I had can apply to the job that they were looking for. So for example, with accounting in particular, that was my case, I say, I can measure and show business leaders in the language that the business talks how I can save you money. So I try to use the background that I had, how to apply to that position. And I started as an intern, right, in Alcoa. That was my first job. So once I got that position, then once I am in, that I think is the biggest challenge. But once you are there, then you can start knowing more and see where the opportunities are. There I work in a group that they were managing different commodities, and I saw that and I say, okay, they gave me calcium silicate. And I say, okay, can I help you with something else to another person that I saw that he couldn't manage all his projects. And that's how I started then knowing more about that. And that is one example. Then at Cummins, I did more or less the same. I use the experience that I had, how to apply to that position that they were looking for. And once I am in, I see opportunities to do more. They don't need to tell me. I want to find that. So that's why I got into IT projects. I was in procurement, so anyone say, but why is procurement involved? But as I always wanted to see, and I was looking at the system, okay, I got as a user to test. That was my first opportunity. And then I provided feedback, and that's how I was evolving. Did it help you, Silja?
Yeah. Thank you, Marcia. I got you. It's your determination and your perseverance that you to achieve what you wanted to. Great.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad that it helped you.
Thank you.
Sushma, you're on mute now.
Okay, sorry. Please share your questions if you have any, but since I didn't see anyone raise the hands, I'm just going ahead. But if you have any questions, we can definitely take them up. So thank you, Marcia, for being here. This is a virtual bouquet since we don't meet physically. Thank you for sharing what you have shared with us. It's an amazing learning from you. Sorry, guys.
Marcia,
Yes.
Jason?
Yeah, we have a question from Sandeep.
Yeah,
No
sure. I
Yes,
will
Sandeep.
give me a minute, Jason. I'll just finish this.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you, audience. Thank you for being here. We all are here so because of you, and keep coming every week. We have amazing speakers sharing their experience every week. Here are the details of next week's speaker. His name is Sumit Gupta. He's a publisher, creative brand strategist. He's creative director of Purple Stroke. He's art director and a marketing strategist. Let's learn about branding from him next week. And thank you, Marcia, once again. Over to you. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay. I need to have one question to ask. As I have learned from this particular seminar or this session, it is a wonderful experience to move from an accounts to a finance, from an account finance to a supply chain, and the journey is the reason I am happy for this session is only because even I have gone through that circle only. I am a science graduate. I was more into doing analysis on data into contact centers and BPO. And when I came to Dubai, I was into a retail and then moved to a supply chain. So my journey also moved, and it was a very hard journey for me because the scenario of the business was changing in Dubai at that point in time. The telecom sector was going down, the rates was clashing, and the data business was not happening that great. So I moved myself to a supply chain. Having said that, I started again to understand small aspects about it. But if I want to grow and excel in this particular domain, I need to learn from you. Which books did you refer, or which institute did you approach? What were the videos did you observe, or any kind of an YouTube sessions you must have attended in past? Can you give me any idea on this, so that it will help us also to learn those aspects and take it further way ahead on the supply chain?
Yes, and thank you, Sandeep, for sharing your experience. It's great that, see, many of us go through the same. It's just in different ways, but we all experience those changes, right? Yes, some books like Supply Chain, one of the I would say, not challenge, but I remember that now that I see you, I remember your comment about end-to-end supply chain. So
Yes.
that is so broad, right? Because we can see like three main sections, like procurement, then operations, and logistics and warehousing. So there's one author that I think he's great, and I'm going to give you some names, like the one that is Daniel Stanton, that is Mr. Supply Chain. He's very good in explaining how supply chain works. So from him, everything is great. So that is for the general supply chain. Then you can see people that that their expertise is more on procurement, that sometimes you can hear that they are separate. They say procurement and supply chain. Other use the terminology to cover everything under supply chain. So for procurement, there are others, like if you go to a podcast that is called Supply Chain Now, that one, there's a session on procurement. Kelly Barnes, she is there and she has great experience in procurement. Then you can have other podcasts that is very important in supply chain, is Let's Talk Supply Chain with Sarah, right? She was also in my show, and I was in Supply Chain Now. So once you get, then it's always the same people. But those shows are the top shows in supply chain. You ask also about a YouTube channel. A big one is Supply Chain Secrets. That one I think is the biggest one on YouTube. Okay. So there are like different opportunities to learn supply chain. In my case, the book that I created is about different transformations. So it is the audience is to know what to do. So it explains, like it's a novel, right? And you go through the different chapters and see what to do, like with ERP planning, and then procure to pay. But yes, those are the sources, and now there's so much information about supply chain. Is a key topic today.
Yes, there is so much information now on supply chain. So what happens? You get deviated sometimes. So it's better to focus on a right book at right time. That will help us to guide. See, like you
Yes.
mentioned, supply chains into a three-part. Now, my focusing is more on operations and logistics. Procurement, as of now, I have not touched on it because I'm
Perfect.
responsible for heading logistics department operations. Now, we come up with one more options where we help people to build up their e-commerce platform. Like you have your e-commerce company,
Okay.
you have your e-commerce company and you want end-to-end supply chain to be taken care of us. So from first mile to last mile, we take care of everything from a logistics storage perspective. So this is something I have learned in last 2 years, sorry. And then we have now implemented, and by grace of God, we have grown in that. So I have 2-3 customers coming on board also for that. And they're very happy about deliveries and all. So now I need to learn more on the procurement and other aspects. So I thought you are the key person who can guide us on that.
That's great. And when you mentioned about e-commerce, yesterday I recorded one about last mile delivery because now that is with Rick, and then I also have one with Dean Masiuba, that he's an expert on e-commerce and last mile delivery. Yes, yes, I see.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
No, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Marcia, for answering the question. Anyone has any further questions? Or else we'll close the session. Please feel free to ask any comments you're open to share. Okay, I think topic is very interesting. People are still stick to the session. Good to close because I don't see any hands raised, any questions, no queries. So it has been a wonderful session, Marcia, once again. Thank you very much for being here, for accepting our invitation and coming and talking it with full energy at 3 a.m. in the morning, your time.
I know. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Yes, I'm very passionate about this. The way sometimes I think I'm talking too much. See, from not being able to talk, now I talk too much.
Great. Thank you very much. Jason, anything from your side?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the time. Thank you for all the 20 participants today. God bless you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day to all. See you all. Bye.